Hi, friends. Welcome here. Let me try that again. Hi, friends. Welcome to the studio. I am most of the way through the board build. I've been working on it in little chunks over the last handful of days. And I've got everything pretty much placed. All the wiring is plumbed and run and cleaned up. The only thing I have to do here is the top deck, which is going to be a little challenging because it's got to do a few things. It's got to be clean. It's got to, obviously everything has to work, but then it also has to do this. So we have to make sure that we've got enough room for the cables to move and also be nice and tidy and out of the way of the other pedals. So I'm just going to get to work doing that. Do my best to kind of chit-chat along the way. So what I've done here on this board is I think I talked a little bit about it in the first video, but I'm using the Chase Bliss Therme and Dark World as my delay and reverb. I sort of talked about how I really like their stuff a lot. I like the people there. Obviously I love the pedals. I like that they're small. I like that they are, well, the Dark World is digital, but the Therme is all analog, but it has digital control. So I just like analog delays. It's, to me, it's vibey time. And so that's kind of why I stick to that stuff. The other part of it is that I know this stuff really, really well. And so a big part of it is being able to get all this stuff to do kind of what I want it to relatively quickly without necessarily having to crack open the manual. So that's another big part of it. The reason I'm saying that because I'm probably sure people are going, well, why wouldn't you use this or why wouldn't you use that? And for me, it's a bit of a devil's but I do genuinely love this stuff. So what's going to be happening here is all of the pedals, except for the SD9 and the Octavian, are going into this. So this is, I'm not using a big switcher. Normally I use the Gig Rig G2 or G3 is what I've used, and I absolutely love that stuff. But this board I want it to be small, still have as much sort of control as I like to have, but be able to fit more pedals. You know, with the switcher, with even the Atom, which is quite small, would take up this sort of whole area. And so using the Morningstar stuff here is allowing me a couple extra pedals, which, come on, more is more. Let's face it, everybody knows that. Cut! I said cut! And action! Something that I've learned over the last couple years of building boards for myself, and I'm far from the best at it. There are lots of folks who are really, really good at it. Mason from Vertex, Grant at Goodwood, Brian O'Million, of course Dan Steinhardt. Those folks are super pros. Me, I'm just a goofball with a soldering iron, you know what I mean? But I like to do this stuff myself. I'm a very hands-on kind of fella, and I enjoy this kind of work. Anyway, what I've learned is planning out your signal path will save you from making a cable like 14 times, making the same cable 14 times. Right now, I have the tails for the Dark World, which is going into channel B on the ML10X on the ring, and then the Therme over here is going to also go into channel B, but on the tip. So I need to kind of group these guys together, and that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to stop talking so that I can focus on it.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Anna. I am editing these videos. I also happen to be Joey's wife. And I have to be honest with you, I don't have any audio to put in this part. So I thought I'd just tell you that and let you know that coming up, there's more footage of Joey working on his board, but that I actually get him to answer some questions. So stay tuned for that. And in this part, I don't have anything. So I thought I'd just say hi and yeah. So there is more interesting stuff coming up. Not that this isn't interesting. I didn't mean that. Okay, bye.
Oh, where's my garbage box? It's a custom-made signature garbage box. This is my garbage box. This is actually the road case for my 2-Rock 112 cab. You know, I would say I do like to work with my hands, and I also love to save money. And so instead of buying a road case for my 112 cabinet, I just put it in a cardboard box. And it actually does really well, you know, keeps it from getting dinged. And I'm the only person really carrying it at the end of the day, so like, you know, it's not like there's disgruntled crew people. This is why I usually work in silence. I get these cable tie mounts off of Amazon, as well as these zip ties. And so for under the board, I think this is the 4-inch cable tie. So I get the 4-inch cable ties, and the cable tie mounts are 3/4 of an inch. I love the square plug stuff. So these are those SPS 7s, the TRS guys. I also use the SP 500 or 550Ss, which are the pancake version. And then on this board, I'm using. They didn't have black ones. Normally I would get black ones, but my supplier was all sold out, so I had to. This is just all they had. I use the SP 400s, which are just a very, very low profile pancake plug. They are great. They sound good, I think. Who cares? That doesn't matter. For audio, I use Canary GS4. I think a lot of people like Mogami, and there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of opinions out there about what kind of wire you should use on your pedal board. As long as you're using relatively high quality wire, you'll be okay. If you're into using buffers, if you're using a high quality buffer, that will also help make up for anything that your kind of cable brings to the table. I am using, on this board, I'm using the Goodwood Audio interfacer. So I mentioned earlier that the SD9 and the Octavian are not in here. The SD9 can handle the buffer inside the ML10X, but I just wanted it to be in front of everything because it's very, very responsive to your volume knob on your guitar, and I really wanted it to be seeing the guitar as closely as possible. My guitar goes into the passive input of the interfacer, out of the passive input into a remote loopy 2 from Gig Rig underneath, and the Octavian is in loop 1 and the Maxon is in loop 2, so that way the Octavian is hitting the Maxon. You can switch the loops on and off from the MC6 because it's got relay switching built in, which is awesome. Out of the remote loopy 2, you can't see it right now, but I have a Goodwood Audio Audition box, which basically gives me one extra audio loop that I can, if I pick up a pedal on the road, which I definitely will, I can just plug it into there, and I don't have to like dismantle any of this. I can just, so that'll go in after the Octavian and the SD9. I kind of I hemmed and hawed about whether or not the Audition should go before the Maxon or after it, and I opted to put it after. I don't really know why. It just sort of made sense in the time. And then from the Audition comes back to the interfacer into the buffered input. And then that drives all of the sort of what's going to be the wet section of the amp, or of the pedal board. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm using. Why am I talking about that? Oh, buffers. Yeah, so the buffer in here is what I'm using. And then I also have one of the Goodwood isolator boxes to, if I want to run wet, dry, wet with this pedal board, I can. But more than likely, I'm just going to do wet, dry, which is just one less wet signal going out. Back to wiring. Oh, I'm using Canary, what is this? L-4E5C. This is their quad cable. So it's got like braided, I don't know. Apparently it helps make them nice and quiet. It's just high quality cable. And that's what I use to run anything that is doing stereo. Like the Generation Loss has stereo TRS in and out, which is really nice because then that means I don't have to build an annoying Y cable like I do for these other pedals. So I like that. But yeah, so that's handling any of the stereo audio. All of the control wire I am using, I don't know what this is called, Canary L2B2AT. So it's a very, very, very light and narrow control wire. So it's got 2 wires plus ground. Yeah. So I'm using that to run any of the control cables. So MIDI, relay switching, the expression pedal is going to run off of that. What else? That's it. Yeah, anything handling audio gets the fancy wire. Fun fact, on my big pedal board, I used all fancy wire to run my control, and I regret it because it's a real pain in the ass to strip this cable. You know, there's like braided ground, which I use. These tweezers, I got these at Walmart. TweezerMAN, they're high quality tweezers. They're like they were like $30, but these are the tool that I use the most. I use these to, I'll show you in a second, use them to help strip cable, help clean things up, obviously grab things. If you're making your own pedal boards, I highly recommend a good pair of tweezers and spend the money on the good stuff because I literally wear them out. And these I've had for the longest amount of time. The other thing, the other good place to spend money if you're going to do a lot of this is on your soldering iron. Yeah. Another little piece of advice I would offer, so if you're doing this cable tie mount sort of situation, wait to tighten up all your zip ties. Speaking from personal experience, you will waste less of them. So leave yourself lots of slack to pull things in and out. If you need to rerun something, yeah, highly recommend chilling out on tightening those guys up. Listen, there's nothing more satisfying than tightening and clipping your zip ties. There might be 1 or 2 more things that are more satisfying than that, but it's like top 5 for me, cleaning up the whole thing. And I'm always in a hurry to do it, and I always regret it. So leave yourself some room, and you will thank me later. Get out of here, Dad. Told you not to bother me on my YouTubes. I did see all the craziness about the bad monkey. So for me, it really is about sort of balancing what I can accomplish sort of creatively, trying to balance that with what is reasonable to travel with.
Horizon is here. Can't wait for the addition of 10 fuzzes.
You cheeky. Well, there's not a lot of room left here, so I don't know about 10, but, you know, we might be able to get 1 or 2 on there. The thing for me on this board, the SD9 kind of fills that space. It fills that sort of fuzzy zone. Like it's not like, it's obviously not a vintage voiced fuzz by any stretch, but it is pretty high gain. and it cleans up really well. And so I'm kind of using it it's kind of sort of the way that I would run like a fuzz face or something kind of voice like that. Yeah, so I find that it kind of scratches that itch in this sort of smaller format. I used the SD9 on the whole tour pretty much last year, with the exception of the last couple shows. I swapped it out. I just kind of started wanting to hear something else. But I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm a huge Michael Landau fan. And I don't know if he still uses the SD9, but he did for a lot of his career and on a lot of the records of his that I really, really love. So I bought one kind of on a whim because I had sort of revisited a record of his called Live 2000 and was just floored by the guitar sounds. And so I kind of was like, let's see if I can make one of those work. And I got it and I really, really loved it. And I ended up picking up a second one. This is actually the second one that I bought. The first one, so they're both Analog Man modded SD9s. And the first one that I got has the Bad Bob Boost in it, which I never really used. I like it, sounds fine, but it just wasn't something that I really was finding myself using. So I just decided that I didn't need or want to use it. So I bought a second one. Instead of having the boost knob on top, I put the mid knob because if you do the Bad Bob Boost mod, then the mid knob is internal on a trim pot, and I wanted to be able to adjust it. So that's my life story. Let's go back to the beginning. Too much yakking, not enough building. You know what I'm saying?
How come you don't use your Golden Boy on the board? Cheers.
That's a good question. I haven't really been big on the sort of blues breaker style circuits these days. I've used that kind of circuit for such a long time, and I'm finding myself just wanting to hear something different. I mean, it is still my favorite overdrive circuit of all the sort of parent drive circuits. Like give me a blues breaker over a tube screamer any day. I just don't get along with the tube screamer vibe the way some folks do. But yeah, I've been gravitating towards some other sounds lately. The SD9 has kind of given me everything that I'm wanting these days. It's a bit of a one-stop shop, or at least it feels like it is right now, for sort of gain and fuzziness and, when I turn my volume knob all the way up, it kind of goes pretty squirrely if you need it to. But then it also cleans up really, really nicely. So it kind of behaves like a fuzz. So that's kind of why there's nothing there. But I can get those kind of like more shimmery kind of clean tones within just one pedal. So that's why there's why that's kind of taking precedence over anything else. I mean, I still love the Golden Boy. It's a killer pedal. The Jackson folks have done such a good job on that thing, and it will absolutely be on my board again. It just isn't right now. I really, really like to switch stuff up. Like in the main section of my pedal board, I like to have variety. On my big board, I had a Jan Ray, I had a Golden Boy, I had the SD9, I swapped in a couple of Nordvang pedals, which also, like, shout out to Nordvang. Man, are those guys making great stuff, holy moly. yeah, so I don't know. I just like to have a variety. But yeah, no love lost for the Golden Boy, certainly not. Hilarious. Hilarious. I talked myself into the wrong wire. So even on the big board, there was no mood. I mean, that's not true. I did have a mood on there for a while, but I wasn't actually using it. So I did make that sound on the record with a mood. So I had made this sound that had this kind of tremolo sort of effect on the drone, but it had there was no way for me to sync it up with the tempo of the song, and it was just driving me nuts because it was so close. But when it comes to syncing something up to tempo, you either are or you aren't. There's really no sort of in between for that kind of thing. So it was making me crazy that I couldn't line it up with the tempo of the song. So I wound up just chopping it up and lining it up manually within Pro Tools. What that means is that I wasn't able to get that sound from the mood live anyway. So I wound up taking the edited file out of Pro Tools and recording it into my blooper, and basically running the blooper as a sampler. But the short answer is I'm not going to worry about that sound for this tour. As much as it was a blast to kind of come up with the design behind that sound and like conceptualize it and then eventually execute it was insanely satisfying. It didn't really do anything for me live. And I think it more was like the gadgetry of it that was the most satisfying part. What I discovered about the big board is that there are some things that happened as a result of a lot of those sounds creatively that sort of took me to a place that I was really excited about. But then there were also things that just kind of managed to get in the way of the creative process. And so I kind of want to get rid of as many of those as I can and just make room for the stuff that is kind of artful, if that makes sense. So yeah, long story short, I ain't worrying about that sound on this board. It got the chop. Oh, my Bach. My Johann Sebastian Bach. All right, we're going to wrap things up for now right here. I'm going to keep working off camera. Yeah, so we'll see you a little bit later for a full tour and reveal. Can you make sparks fly out of my fingers? What about adamantium claws?
I'll try my best.
Yes. Bye.